Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. This is my discussion video, initial thoughts for Briar, Witch, Iseria. So this is a newly released ML5 that we're, I think, 2 weeks now? 2 weeks in advance getting a preview of it now with the 3-week rotation. Currently, while I'm making this video, Arbiter Vildred is in the Mystics. I mean, if you're free to play, I think mainly a lot more players who are maybe free to play or maybe they have limited resources will maybe watch videos like mine or other content creators just to see, you know, are they worth it? I would say right off the bat, like Briar, I say Blair Witch Iseria. Ooh, creepy. Briar Witch Iseria. Honestly, I kind of like her. I would say that if you don't own either Arbiter Vildred or her, I would still say I think you will still like have more playtime with Arbiter Vildred. I would say the same with like Faithless Litica too. Like Faithless Litica versus her, you would use F Litica much more than her. While that being said, it doesn't mean she's bad at all. I would say that based on my kind of view and perspective, I would say that I would run her, like if it was my style of play, I would run her more than I would run someone like Little Queen Charlotte or, you know, DJ Bazaar or something like that. So I mean, by all means, she's not bad. But let's go into it. I think, yeah, let's just start. Anyways, so Ranger, Gemini, Dark. By this time, I think everybody's really familiar with Geminis now. SSB, Faithless Litica, like I said. So she has the same stats: 114 speed, 5,299 health, 1,182 attack. Now this is quite important. This is quite important for her. I'll talk about that in a bit. The imprint concentration has 18%. If you can max it, Green Iseria should be able to imprint her. So, I mean, no need to ham for the MLs for imprints. But 18% is equivalent to a bit over 200. A bit over 200 extra attack. So with her, you're looking at upwards of 1,300 plus-ish. Almost 1,400. So that's quite a bit of attack. We'll talk about that in a bit, especially with her passive. Now, as a Gemini, I mean, she's not as robust as Green Iseria in terms of tankiness. But I mean, her speed isn't bad, and we know SSBs can be built pretty tanky. Flat defense rolls quite important on her. For the 571 defense, it's quite low. Flat defense is very, very good on her. The health is not bad, but again, if you're familiar with these heroes, it's fine. 18% effectiveness, quite important in her kit. The self-imprint is not effectiveness, it is attack. I'm both, and I think both works, especially if we go into now her skills. So that's it. So first is Briar Witch Iseria's Curse. So Witch's Curse. As to its passive skill, and it says increases hit chance by 25%. So it means that anything under the 25, you're gonna hit them regardless of evasion. Right? That's what hit chance means. I used to get confused with what hit chance meant. I thought hit chance is just like hit set, which is technically effectiveness. So I don't know. Maybe they have to rework that language. But if you've been playing for a while, you know what that means. 35%, up to 35%. Hit chance if you max all of this, and I maybe, arguably speaking, maybe you want to do that. 35% is good to, I would say, in maybe arena defense comp, like against arena defense comps. People generally run Assassin Cartusia now for a lot of the defense, especially during rush hour. I don't know if with Blind Day implemented, does that matter as much anymore? I'm not quite sure. But up to 35%, meaning that if someone is going to troll you with like a Moonlight Dreamblade Thief, not ML Violet, not Marissa, okay, so like a ML DB Arby with like an Assassin Cartuja on the team, you're going to hit them. you can hit them. So it's 15% with 8 cards passive, and then 20% on the Moonlight Dreamblade. It is quite interesting though that they brought her out with this sort of passive right after Remnant Violet. And I mentioned this before. I'm like a Remnant Violet, honestly, you know, if he's not on Moonlight Dreamblade, if you don't run Moonlight Dreamblade Remnant Violet, she's a hard counter. Oath Key is 20%, so it counteracts the Moonlight Dreamblade part. But with her 35%, that's 55. So 55%, if your Remnant Violet is slower than a Briar Witch Iseria, he's gonna get stripped. We'll talk about that when we get to the S3. But she won't miss, right? So the evasion debuff does not matter. So I think it's kind of interesting that they built like a sort, to me, it's a counter to Remnant Violet. But if he has Moonlight Dreamblade, if Remnant Violet has Moonlight Dreamblade, or Mersa has Moonlight Dreamblade, there's that 15% chance, even with Oath Key, 15% chance for them to dodge. It's a small amount. Like, given that if you're starting to draft, right, in World Arena, and they like last, like, you somehow pick like Briar Witch Iseria as a counter to evasion, I think it's a legit pick. We're talking about like the 15% chance is just like, you know, people not landing a debuff, right? So to me, I mean, it's 85% on your favor, so she's quite a good counter to the so-called, everybody was fearful of the evasion meta. I don't think you really need to with her on your side. I like it. I like her passive. It's simple. The second part to her passive here though is additional damage is dealt if the attack is successful. So a successful attack, meaning if you don't miss, it does additional damage to the enemy. It's proportional to the caster's attack. Based on the data mine, it's 0.3%, so 30% of the caster's attack. That scales relatively the same as Rengar Specialty Drink, except the fact that we don't know if it penetrates defense, which Drink does. So Rengar Specialty Drink does penetrate defense, just like Uberia's Tooth. But I don't think this does, at least not appearing in the data mine at the moment. Now how that can work is it can be very, very useful. So it's a passive that it's through her S1 and her S3, so AoE and single target. So you won't really need to run a Rengar Specialty Drink on her. Really wouldn't benefit her anyway. I don't know if both effects stack, to be honest. That would be quite interesting, but it would only work on her S3. Let's get to that. So S3 is Cursed Thorn. Attacks all enemies with the Cursed Thorn Bush and dispelling all buffs. Alright, keep that in mind. Dispelling all buffs with up to a 60% chance, and then with Imola, up to 85% chance to decrease attack and make the unbuffable for 2 turns. 2-turn unbuffable. This was like early on last year when SSB came out. I did an SSB showcase. I built it really fast and just to be a debuffer. The Briar Witch Iseria sort of more fulfills that role since she does the dispel. Now, the time when I did pull for SSB, not a lot of people were running immunity yet. Like, they might have some core heroes, but now, like, more or less, most of everyone that I know tries to run immunity on all types of heroes. Like, even high resistance soul weavers or knights, they still run an immunity if they can spare it. Like, if you can hit decent effect resistance and have immunity, that's just like, that's extra. So SSB defaulted to that you needed them to either have their immunity run out or have a strip in order to land the unbuffable. Now, of course, if you're, and the defense break on SSB, but for her dispel is 100% chance, right? So because it doesn't talk about the proc rate there, the effect chance is only affecting the debuff thereafter. So dispelling the buffs, unless you get resisted with the 15% resistance, you're going to dispel it. So that's fantastic. 85% chance to decrease attack and unbuffable for 2 turns. I mean, it's not 100%, but you know, I would take it. I would still take it. It's not an SSB level unbuffable where it's 100%, but 85 is no joke, especially if you could strip 100%. The soul burn increases the damage dealt. Now, the mods don't look really impressive. It's an attack rate of 0.95 and the POW of 1.1. More or less, you're looking at about a 1 times mod. It's pretty generic. If you watch my Holiday Euphine video, you know that Holiday Euphine's cleaving skill is also a 1 times mod. You're not going to see a lot of power coming out of this one. The only other thing is that this skill enhancement only has a 20% raw mola damage, so it's a very weak skill in terms of damage. Now, in the video that Smilegate actually posted, they built it as a DPS, pushed it with an Oxalot, and had an attack buff. Now, I don't think that's out of the question. Sure, I think you could do that, but I don't know how well you could do that, especially if you plan to use her in real-time arena. She would usually have to be built pretty fast, and then therefore you potentially lack damage. Now, the only thing is that she has a built-in specialty drink. It does skill on attack, so perhaps much less needed compared to SSB in terms of crit rate and crit damage. Perhaps you don't build that at all. You just build her fast, build her tanky, high attack, high effectiveness, perhaps. I'm not quite sure yet myself, but it's not like I can get her. I don't know. But the soul burn is a 1.2. So 1.2 for an AoE skill is actually pretty high. But again, with her usefulness, like, can you get those stats? You know, I think the dispel and then the applying the debuffs is probably better. Now, arguably speaking, you're looking at a decreased attack and unbuffable, so it feels like it's pushed towards debuffing DPS anyway. So, like, you know, not debuffing the Ruel or whatever. So in that sense, like, maybe you can spare the effectiveness. Like, you don't need that much effectiveness. Plus, she already has 18% innate. You don't need that much effectiveness, and you just build it as damage. We'll have to see when players start testing. But again, the 20% raw damage is a huge deal with already low mods. Again, like I said, soul burn is 1.2. Fairly decent for an AoE, but just keep in mind, like, real cleavers, real AoE damage dealers like Vivian have a 1.2 already, like, innate. So, like, the AoE skill. So, I mean, yeah, the soul burn, I don't know if you would soul burn her unless you're doing some kind of cool cleave comp. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't recommend it since her raw mola is already at a disadvantage. These are parts of her S3. Animation's beautiful as always. I love this frame. It's the black and white with the yellow eyes. There's something about this image. The contrast is fantastic, and I just had to showcase it. But if you haven't watched the video, I'd definitely watch it. It has very sad music, which I failed to find. I wanted to run that background music for this video. It was very sad, actually, very sad. Her story, she tried to kill herself and stuff like that. I was like, ugh. Super grim. She plays the part, she looks the part. This screenshot I wanted to take, and the hero on the right hand side that's dead, receiving 12,237 damage, that's Kayron. What's interesting about this is that I mean, how the sequence is that Oxalot's pushed up Iseria, so Iseria is built as a damage dealer. You're not gonna miss, right? So we talked about that. A card only has a 15% passive. She has 35, up to 35. So she's not gonna miss. You can hit it with confidence. Even if Kayron was on a Moonlight Dreamblade, which I don't think he was. I'm not quite sure, actually. I didn't watch the video. I just wanted to pull up this image. Even if he was on a Moonlight Dreamblade, he still wouldn't miss. Now, the damage was pretty good on the Kayron. He is squishy, one source of damage mitigation, and I don't even know if that FCC was on an Aureus. Maybe? Looks like the damage, potentially. Regardless, it killed the Kayron, and what it did was, it did what, like, people do with Iberia's Tooth. So, Kayron, not too long ago got a somewhat of an immortality buff. So if he got killed but stripped on the same turn, he doesn't die right away. Whereas the old Kayron, if his immortality was stripped on the turn he was still dealt over damage, he would die on that turn. But now he stalls for 1 turn even if he's stripped. But because of her S2 passive, the one that kind of procs like drink, it killed him. So I mean, we've seen players use like Soul Bad Guy one-shot Kayron as long as Iberia's Tooth procs, because you could hit him down to 0 HP, apply the unbuffable, but then so he doesn't get the immortal, and then he dies to the Iberia's Tooth proc. Before he wouldn't do that, but now he does have that kind of like a stall at that 1 HP. But with this Rengar like passive, he died immediately, so that's kind of cool. Now I mean, extra damage is extra damage, so it's not just to take out Kayrons in like 1 turn, but it's nice to have. It's nice to have. Definitely something new. The S1, very, very solid. A 75% chance of defense break for 1 turn. There is no way to increase this though. There's the only downfall I think of this S1 break. I mean, yeah, I think she should lead the charge, so your DPS should come after her. So the defense break for 1 turn isn't that bad, but I think everyone has had the experience with, let's say, Alencia, for example. Alencia S1 defense break for 1 turn, and then you don't make the cut, you know? Like the opponent that you landed the defense break on, they're a bit faster than the damage dealer that you have following up, so they lose the defense break on that turn. This happens quite a bit. Like, it happens to me in like Guild War and stuff like that. Not Alencia, but just like a 1 turn defense breaker. It's kind of unfortunate that her soul burn was extra damage. But I guess it might be a bit too broken if this became like a 2 turn or even a, you know, increase to a 100% chance to defense break. Like, so compared to a green Iseria's defense break potential, she's a much weaker counterpart. Although Iseria is 50% without the soul burn. Soul burn you get 100%. 75% you're really cutting the odds there without a soul burn. So it's kind of good, but green Iseria's defense break as a defense breaker. I'll have to put it this way: as a defense breaker, Briar Witch Iseria's defense break is kind of like just like a icing on the cake kind of thing. But the cake is not even super tasty. So again, that's not my way of saying that she's bad. I think she's good. I think a lot of people were saying that, oh, she's gonna be kind of niche, like ML haste. You know, like you bring them only to specific fights to counteract evasion heroes. Like I said before, I think she's a really solid counter to evasion in general. Just off the bat, she's just solid. Again, pair her with Oath Key. I don't think she really needs much, to be honest. Like if you're gonna deal with evasion, Oath Key should be like her primary. Just in case you run into someone that is able to supersede the natural 35% hit chance passive. But I think, yeah, so she's not as like niche as like ML haste, because I think her S3 and her S1 work independently outside of the S2, because yeah, everything she has is good. So I mean, is she like a broken hero? And I think this is gonna be the question I'm gonna be asked, like for people hanging on their mystics that were waiting for this announcement. Your question still may be, do I pull for Arby or do I pull for Briar Witch Iseria? If I'm gonna be honest, I don't own any of them right now. And it's not just because like Arby has been a long time, like been there for a long time, but honestly, like Smilegate has pumped Arby counters over and over and over, and unless you own those specific Arby counters, people still have problems with them. Now, I would say that an observation in RTA, Arby does not appear too much, but he's still a good cleaver. So we got several good cleavers. Like I would say RTA cleavers. J Kisei depends too much on Oxlots, I would say, and mages. But like Kayron, SSB, Vivian, those are like solid RGB cleavers. Like generally you see one of them if you need to like make sure that Spectenny doesn't roam free. Arby is one of them. Arby is one of these cleavers. I would definitely not recommend, especially if you want to be. I mean, I'll let you guys do it. I mean, I'm not an RTA expert. I'm not an RTA expert at all. So I mean, but based on observation, I don't think Arby first pick unless you're already going to draft a cleave comp, like plan to draft a cleave comp. I don't think Arby first pick is a good thing, but that doesn't mean he's bad. Arby is good for every other content, and honestly, I don't think he's going away anytime soon. So compared to that, if you're holding Briar Witch Iseria to Arby, I would say Arby still has a more predominant role. I mean, Arby alone is just he's still one of the most broken cleavers. 2 lives and then he blinds, which for some reason a 0 effectiveness Arby always tends to blind my entire team. I don't get it. And then the CR pushback with the S1, and it always hits 2 targets. I mean, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with Arby. So if you had to compare, I would say yes, pull for Arby. Briar Witch Iseria, she's a debuffer. She has the hit niche, but the debuffs that she has, other heroes have them too. That's the thing. Arby's full kit together is almost like impossible to replicate. I would say maybe Kayron is like the closest thing I can think of to comparing to Arby, but I feel that Briar Witch Iseria has a lot of competitors. It's just that they're not all culminated together. Keep in mind that she's not the only hero that can deal with evasion. Specialty change Wanda can, just not at such a good level as she can, I think. People should really look into SC Wanda if you are having problems fighting like Mursa and Remnant Violet, like evasion heroes in general. You should really look into her. I'm almost thinking about re-gearing her because I feel that is still very useful, very useful hero now, especially with more evasion heroes coming out. Regardless, anyways, that's my thoughts on this. Hopefully that was insightful. I myself, honestly, like I think the design wise, like she looks beautiful. She looks beautiful. I don't care what kind of dark path you have walked Iseria, but you look beautiful to me. The animation is fantastic. She looks great. The sprite looks great. It's weird that they're releasing these very edgy heroes. Like Remnant Violet first, I'm like, ooh man, can it get more dark? And then we have one with this lore that's even darker. I'm like, okay. Alright, Smilegate. Anyways, I'm gonna end this for the video recording. Let me know what you guys think about Briar Witch Iseria. Are you gonna skip on an Arby for her? I'm quite interested. And like I said, I don't think I missed any of the mods. Yeah, I didn't miss any of the mods. Oh, the S1 I think I missed. Sorry about that. I will talk about that. Attack rate is 0.8. Power is 1. It's very low damage. You're not gonna get a lot of damage out of the S1. I can't really see it. So I think her role is quite clear. I think high effectiveness, debuff, speed. I think some attack would be great. Probably don't need crit rate, crit damage, and then tankiness, I think, because having her alive would be very beneficial. Fortune cooldown on the S3, it's relatively quick. Anything 5 turns beyond and you can't reduce that cooldown, it becomes a drag. It becomes a huge drag. Anyways, I'm gonna end this for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.